Hello?
Hello there, is that Mr. Rene Gauthier?
Is this Josh?
No, this is Paul Cuffield from Corporate
Oh,
Security.
Paul.
What's
up, Paul?
Call with WorkSafe. How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Are you ready to have your conference call with my colleague?
Shannon.
Are you ready to have a conference call with my colleague? Yes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello there. Are you there, Rene?
Yes.
Perfect. And Senior Adjudicator, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, just to remind everyone, this call is being monitored and recorded by Corporate Security. If at any time this call becomes unreasonable, then I will interject and end the call. And Rene, I know that when we spoke before, I asked that you identify to the staff that if you are recording this call, so could you do that, please?
Why would I do that?
We discussed this last week that you and I, as a being polite and courteous, that if you were going to record our staff, that you would let them know, and you said that you would. So I just liked to ask if you could do that.
No, I remember us talking about that, but like, why? Yeah, why would I be recording?
Because as we've discussed before, you will record our calls, and I said that if you were going to record the call out of courtesy and a sign of respect, that you should let the staff know, and you said yes, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I'm asking you, if you're going to record this call, would you please let our staff know?
Okay.
Okay, so are you recording this call like I'm doing?
Why would I do that?
Okay, perfect. So you're not recording the call?
Do I need to?
It's entirely up to you. It's your choice.
Okay.
The question I'm asking, Rene, sorry. I don't know if the line's a little bit broken, but when we spoke before, we had quite a good conversation. At the end of it, we kind of discussed that if you were going to do it, record the call, you were just going to identify that to our staff. And I'm asking
I
you
totally
now,
remember, Paul.
are you recording this call? Okay, perfect. So my question is, are you recording this call?
Why would I do that?
Okay, so my question is again, are you recording this call, Rene?
I'm confused.
I don't understand the confusion. My question is, are you recording this call? If you're not, then fine. If you are, then yes. If you don't want to answer that question, then we'll just move on.
Okay, cool. Hi,
Okay,
Shannon. How are you?
You're not, okay, no, Mr. Rene,
Oh, sorry.
you're not answering the question. Okay, so if you're not recording the call, that's fine. If you just want to move on and start with the interview, then we'll do that. Please state what you would like to do.
Yeah, let's move forward. This seems really weird. I'm starting to feel.
I don't understand what's weird. Sorry, I've asked you a fairly basic question, Rene, and if you don't want to answer the question, that's fine. That's entirely your choice.
Okay.
I thought we had an agreement the last time we spoke. We will move forward. So what I'm taking from the answers that you've given is that you don't want to answer the question, but we will move on and have a chat with my colleague, okay?
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to put myself on mute because it acoustically adds some real challenge. Over to you guys.
Hi, Shannon.
Thank you. Hi. So we are going to go through a number of different questions today so I can get a sense of what it is that you're claiming for, Rene. So I'll first outline how we're going to move through the information so you have a bit of a sense of where we're going with this today. If you have questions along the way, please feel free to jump in and ask me along the way. We're going to start by reviewing some technical information about your job. Now, you may have given some of this information already, you may have answered some of these questions, but it is important that we review this just to make sure that we have accurate information. After that, we will be reviewing the specific events and incidents that you wish to claim for, and then following that, we will spend some time talking about the impact of those incidents on you. That's another important piece of the information. It is important for you to take some very detailed notes, so you may hear me typing in the background. I may need to jump in along the way as you're speaking to either gather additional detail about something that you're telling me or to kind of catch up on my notes, so please just bear with me if I'm jumping in along the way. It is important for me to gather those details as we go along here.
Would it be easier to I have like a little bit of a journal on when I first started working there and a couple like odd serious points. Could I like email this to you and make, instead of me just reading through like this whole entire thing, multiple paragraphs, can I just email it to you, which is like evidence? Well, I guess it's like all of my evidence, really.
Sometimes that can actually be really helpful for us to have some of that in writing. It's also helpful for me to get a bit of an outline of that verbally.
Yeah, cool.
At the beginning, and then to have you forward that in
because
documentation can actually be really helpful.
Before you called me there, I was just reviewing my notes, and I was like, holy smokes, thank God I made a journal, because I really just have like a giant like outline of kind of what happened, but reading my notes really like puts everything back into perspective, since it happened quite a while ago. So this would be really helpful. So like I can like tell you what kind of like the gist of what happened to me, and this is kind of like supporting evidence, I guess, right?
Perfect. That's great. That's very helpful. So we'll kind of circle back to that at the end and talk about how you can forward that, but
cool.
It is important for me to get a general sense of that here today while we're speaking. So let's start first with some of the more technical information here. If you can start by giving me your formal job title that you had with Purelator, we'll start there.
Sorter.
Sorter?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Armindo Pedro, the warehouse manager who eventually had to leave, he, in our interview, he hired me as a sorter for $27 an hour. But in our HR meeting, he was really excited about my Class 1 experience, and quickly wanted to get me trained up with Daryl, the Class 1 trainer for Purelator, which pays like $34 or $35 an hour.
Okay. And how long were you employed with Purelator?
Purelator might know the exact details, but looking at my notes, it seems that my 3-day training started on February 12th of 2023 at 12:30 to 8:30. And then I think 6 months, maybe not 6 months.
Okay. And if you can outline for me briefly your primary job duties during a shift. What did you generally do during a shift?
Well, at the beginning, the manager, Dave, he would kind of like tell everyone like where they were going, and there's different stations. So really the warehouse is shaped in a giant circle, and there's like, say 20 spaces for delivery trucks, like Purelator trucks, to back into, and each of those spaces has a number, and most people have 3 to 4 numbers that there's like a line in that circle, that like a rotating line, and the packages come on a belt, and then there's a trailer that's outside, and someone unloads the trailer, puts it on the belt, and there's 2 gentlemen that mark the number for the address and where that number goes. So all the people in the warehouse has 3 or 4 spots, and your job is to grab a package and put it in the space. And some days are busy or not, so it's good to have everything all nice and tidy and neat, also for like the driver and stuff.
And that was your role? You were organizing these packages for the drivers?
Yes, ma'am. And then also like there's all like sometimes it's a little slow, so it's also good to like help out like people have been there a little bit longer, so they'll know like the next stage, or if there's like a trailer, like Dave, the manager, he has to go outside and like move a trailer around. That's one of the reasons why Armindo wanted to get me trained on the Class 1, because when Dave is the only Class 1 driver and he's the manager, or like the supervisor, well, he's outside not supervising, right? And or if he has to go down to like the ferry on Vancouver Island and he has to go pick up a trailer, there's no supervisor. So he's like, well, Renee, like you wouldn't get paid $3-4 an hour the whole day, but like say like an hour and a half, you go grab a trailer and you back it in and move some trailers around. He says, you know, for an hour and a half, you get paid that rate. Or if there's only 2 guys that were trained on Class 1, Ian and Dave. And if one of them had to go on like holidays, what have you, Ian he's been there like 30 some odd years, and he does like a Nanaimo run and grabs a trailer from out there, which is the hardest trailer to do, because like it drives all that way and everything gets like just mangled and there's often like a lot of heavy things in that trailer. But so yeah, so like oftentimes there's like half half like full-time workers and there's half temps, and like sometimes people don't know what to do because they're new, or like temps like come in and out. They've only been there like a month and they might leave. But if you've been there a while, like there's always something that you can be doing, like helping out like the senior management, or just moving things around and just prepping things up for like the next. So if you're eager and like want to work and like kind of make things easier for your fellow mates, you can always be working and doing other things, like not just standing around sorting packages, because the line slows down and stops.
Okay. And so was this a full-time position for you? You were in a full-time position?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you have a second employer at the time, a second job?
No, ma'am.
All right. So now we're going to move into the specific incidents that you want to report and claim for. Now, it is important for us to have identifiable incidents with a date, or if you don't know the exact date, if you have an approximate date. It sounds like you've taken some good notes there, Renee, so hopefully that will help out. So you can report these to me in whatever order makes the most sense for you, but in reporting them, if you can start by giving me the date or the approximate date, describe that event to me in detail, and again, I may jump in and interrupt you along the way to gather more details as is necessary.
So what happens if it's more complicated than that? Like what happens if the union rep who's up top marking, James, he's been there like 30 some odd years. Like what happens since there's like 40, when I was there like the short period of time, there's like 40 people that came and gone. And often like bullying, there's a sexual harassment thing that happened before, like through like a minor from a full-time worker that never got fired. And there's like a lot of problems at that warehouse. Like what happens if the three most senior guys that have been there 25, 30 years have this like low-key bullying tactic and working with other like temp workers that are actual drug dealers in the warehouse, and it's like a slow progress thing, not just like a specific date thing?
Well, certainly that happens, but it is important for us. We do need to have identifiable events to work with. So if you've got, and perhaps maybe your journal entries will give me a bit more of that other context when you send that in. So if you can maybe pick out a handful of the more impactful events that are perhaps a bit more identifiable, clear-cut, maybe we can start with those, and then your documents will maybe fill in some more of that context. Would that make some sense, Renee, to start there?
I'm sorry, I'm just really stressed.
No, it can be a difficult process for sure. So,
and I'm not used to it.
Is there an event that kind of stands out in your mind as being a particularly impactful event, or one?
To be honest, ma'am, is like kind of what I'm getting at is that like after my first and second week, James. So my 3 days training was on February 12th, right? At 00:30, and the first and second week working there, James would just go off on me and saying, "Glenn, you're still here, Glenn? Do you remember Glenn?" And I replaced Glenn. So Glenn was a gentleman that I met on my first 3 days training, and then he got let go. And the bullying and discrimination and harassment started happening by James calling me Glenn, like, and he just wouldn't stop. And like other workers didn't get it, what have you. Everyone always kind of like would say, "Oh, that's just James. James is just like that." And everyone always just tell me how James has always been a bully. So I guess that's how it first started, and then.
So maybe we can I stop you there, Renee, and just get a bit more detail about that, because it's important for me to understand more context there. So first of all, so James was your direct supervisor? No,
Dave was. James is the union rep.
James is the union union rep. Okay.
Yeah, so James is the second most senior guy, and Dave is the supervisor, and he's the third most senior guy. 25 years. James is like 30 years, and then there's Bill, who's I think the most senior guy in Canada, I think, for Pure Layer. And
Okay.
and those three guys
So
run
James-
the warehouse.
So James, Dave, and I'm sorry, who was the third person?
Third person is Bill.
And Bill.
The temp workers that often work there, like off and on, they call those three guys the three wise men.
Okay. So the first time that James called you Glenn, do you believe that James made an honest mistake? And did you correct James after that, or how did that play out?
Yeah, I talked to everyone about it, and everyone just made excuses for James. Just ignore James. James is just like that. James is
So
like,
you did correct him.
oh yeah, no, James. Everyone's like, just ignore James, and he's just grumpy, and he's just a bully, and people, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
It's very, very
So
uncomfortable.
for how long did James continue to call you the wrong name?
So for like 2 weeks, from like my first 2 weeks, it started with that.
Okay. And it sounds like that eventually stopped, did it? The calling of the wrong name, did that stop?
Yeah, then he started making uncomfortable situations to Bob, which is the fourth most senior guy. I think Bob has been there like over 20 years, and Bob has Asperger's. And so James bullying Bob on February 28th, 2023 at 02:54. After doing a trailer, James was in my spot, and he left was miserable when I was joking. Man, that trailer was tough. He just said nothing and used his hand and like, okay, so with a miserable look, and walked away. Well, Bob told me right after I got to the line, James is giving me a headache. So Bob would always say that James is giving me a headache, because that's how Bob would communicate. Again, he has Asperger's. And I guess James would make really uncomfortable situations and bully Bob so blatantly and obvious, where it would stress Bob out, destroy his work ethic for hours, and make a giant scene for the whole warehouse to see. And I found out later is that like I actually started sticking up for Bob, like hey Bob, it's okay, blah blah blah. And when it was his turn to go in the trailer and do like that's the hardest part of the job, is to go in the trailer and like unload a 53-foot trailer, or 40 feet, 30 feet. So I would be like, hey, like, don't worry about it. Like, I would volunteer to like take Bob's spot. And I found out after a couple of months that with the three wise men telling me, oh, don't worry, Bob is smarter than you think, this and that. And like it turns out they just use and pick on Bob to bug the new people, because there was already one person that got fired for sticking up for Bob. This is kind of what I'm getting at. So they're just using Bob as like a pawn to stir up conflict and friction, and to just start an incident with someone that feels bad and will stick up for Bob. It's kind of messed up.
So just so I'm clear, you felt like they were using Bob to create friction for you in your new position?
I didn't know what was going on at first. I just saw that Bob was being bullied, and like really, really bad, like I described. But I found out months afterwards, once I got along with everyone, except James. James never liked me. I think we've had like 3 good conversations where he was normal to me, and it was all about him trash talking Bob. But everyone else I got along with, and I found out like after a couple months that that's just what they would do. Is that, and then I found out that someone got fired for getting mad at James, but like, hey, like, leave Bob alone kind of thing. So then James would go to management and say that this guy like spoke to me this way, or what have you. That never happened to me. I just witnessed at first on February 28th of James bullying Bob, and I thought it was weird. And I just stuck up for Bob by like trying to help him out and try to make his job easier, just as like a good coworker would do.
Okay. Now, I just want to circle back to something. I know some of these events and incidents kind of run into one another, so I'm going back to something earlier because I didn't want to interrupt you at the time.
Thank you,
but
of course.
In terms of James calling you the wrong name, you said that continued for about 2 weeks, and you asked him to correct himself, and he did not. Can you talk to me about, because I don't like to make assumptions about impacts on people, can you talk to me about what it was about that was most impactful for you? What was most bothersome or impactful about that?
Well, Glenn was fired, and I believe he said, I think I quoted, like, Glenn, do you still, he said, and I quote, this is what James would say, Glenn, you're still here, Glenn? Do you remember Glenn? Like, I'm not going to be having this job for much longer, is what James was low-key pushing at. Right? Like, he was already telling me, like, Glenn got fired and you're next.
Oh, I see.
pretty messed up.
So he was insinuating that you were...
yes, ma'am.
You were going to be fired.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my very first week. Can you imagine? And then everyone would be like, oh, that's just James. Just ignore James. He's just a grumpy guy, you know, that whole scenario. I'm like, okay.
We had that experience, and then your incident of observing Bob being treated this way by James, and you sort of getting a sense that James was trying to create friction for new people by when they're standing up for Bob. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And is there another incident that you want to tell me about?
Just reading through my notes. I'm stupid. I have to count on my fingers here. I'm like, wait, on May 28th, so working the trailer, it's technically a confined space because there's only one entry and exit point. Now, these trailers, it seemed that there was like a 1/4 inch of dust on the ground and that they've never been swept in 30 years. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but they're quite dusty is the point I'm making. So out of nowhere, when some other things were happening, a new thing on sweeping the trailer would be a thing. And I didn't understand why they couldn't do it outside, but they would have it sweeping out into the warehouse. And again, it's a confined space, and I suggested that we use like that green stuff that comes in like a big box you get from a Uline. It's like floor sweep. You just like sprinkle it down on the ground, and it reduces all the dust when sweeping. And I suggested that.
And this is like a spray, some kind of a chemical substance?
No, like it comes in like a box of like, say it's like cat litter, right? But it's specifically made for this. It's like green, and it's like a lime thing, and you just like sprinkle it down on the ground, and it works incredible, and it just keeps all dust when you're sweeping. It's great. This is on February 28th, on like at the beginning of our shift. Dave has a meeting with all of us, and I brought it up in one of the meetings, and then he's like, okay, I'll go bring it to...
February 28th or May 28th?
Oh, sorry.
May
28th, sorry.
Yeah.
May
20th.
Thanks, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave brought up that we're going to be sweeping out trailers, and I said my nose has already been getting black just from unloading the trailer, not from sweeping. And I suggested getting like the sweeping compound. And like a week or two afterwards, I asked about that, and he said no, that we wouldn't be getting that.
You had been experiencing, some problems with your nose.
Well, when I first started working there, they had Dean, which is a temp worker, and another employee, and their job was to only unload the trailer the whole day, like the whole shift, like the 8 hours. That would be their job. And that changed, and we can talk about that later on why. But my very first day working there, I was actually in the trailer with Dean, and I found out that any new person that started in the warehouse would get next to Dean, which is a temp worker. And where am I going with this? Just reading through my notes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so Dave on May 30th, 2023, started bullying me about trailer times, on the speed on how fast you should unload a trailer. And I guess there's like trailer speeds and times, right? And I would like to say, like, out of the 20 people that are there, there's 3 people that are in really good shape. And 2 of those people are 10 years younger than me. So, I mean, I'm in quite, like, pretty good shape. And I'm taller than all those people by, like, a couple feet. So, or like a couple inches. So, I don't understand why I was getting bullied and harassed about trailer times. And Dave started pushing like unsafe work speeds. And the next bullying thing would be to just...
Okay, I'm just gonna slow you down there for a second. I just need to dig into that a little bit there. So when you say Dave was bullying you about trailer speeds, can you give me some really specific examples of things that Dave was saying and doing? Sort of exact statements as you best remember them, exact behaviors?
05/30/2023. I did a 20-foot trailer, and within 2 minutes, Dave asked me if he should get someone else to do it. I was confused, but he quickly and rudely was telling me to hurry up and go and work unsafe. 05/31/2023. Morning meeting, Dave talked about trailer times, need to speed up. I asked how long should a 20-foot trailer take. He said 40 minutes. Katie said, which is a full-time employee, Katie said 4 seconds a package. Well, I've been told 60 minutes for every 20 feet, and that seems about right. No one goes faster. I timed Bob, and he was exactly 1 hour. I timed the 2 new guys, Guardian and the other fellow, 35 feet, and it took them 1 hour, 15 minutes with 2 people. Cody, who was one of the 3 guys that are in really good shape, Cody did 20 feet, and it took him 1 hour. Bill told me it's actually 1,000 packages an hour, so 3.75 packages a minute. Also today at 06:45, I was talking with the driver Matt and Dave. I was talking to driver Matt, sorry, and Dave yelled across the warehouse saying, "Renee, there's work here," when William and the 2 new fellows, Guardian, were literally sitting in the conveyor, which is on Dave's side of the warehouse, but he singles me out in a rude way. And this started happening more and more on me being discriminated and harassed and bullied, and like publicly with my coworkers and drivers and contractors, and it started to get really embarrassing. On 06/19/2023 at 0000, Dave won't say anything to me, just ignores me while working side by side, very uncomfortable. After 20 minutes, Ian entered the warehouse, who's he used to be the supervisor in the warehouse for like 20 years, and now he's like a full-time Class 1 driver, Purelator's only Class 1 driver, who's I guess was eventually going to retire soon. That's another reason why they wanted to train me up. Entered the warehouse, and he was the first person to say hi to me. After 20 minutes of me being there, he thought I was gone. 5 or 6 other people in the warehouse Bill then said hi to me after 10 minutes. At 05:30, Brendan, driver 22, stopped cold in his tracks and said, I thought they fired you. So at this time, Dave started telling people that I was fired. So
there. What date was that? Or approximate date, at least?
That was 06/19/2023. That was when some HR meetings started, and yeah, Dave literally went around and told people I was fired. So just talking about just shop warehouse gossip, and it had, yeah, it's just very unprofessional as a supervisor.
So tell me how you found out about these rumors that Dave was saying you were fired.
Okay, so
how you came.
Yeah, so like Ian entered the warehouse because he's a class 1 driver, so he's not usually there. And he said hi, and he wasn't like expecting me, and he's like, he said, I quote, I thought he was gone, like I thought I was gone, like I didn't work there anymore. And then, as I said, driver number 22, Brendan, at 05:30, stopped cold in his tracks and said, I thought they fired you. And Brendan is really good friends with Dave. They go golfing together, and Brendan used to work in the warehouse for like 7 years before he became a driver.
And did they specifically say to you, Dave told us you were fired? Are you there, Renee?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So did it, for example, did Ian say, when Ian said, oh, I thought they fired you, was there any conversation from you about why did you think that and who told you? And Ian said, yeah, Dave told me this. Was Dave specifically identified as the person who gave them this information?
Yes.
They did, okay. And what happened from there in terms of you received this information that Dave is telling coworkers that you're fired? What did you do with that information?
I just journal it. I'm a really, like, if you notice our last conversation, Shannon, I kind of laugh a lot. So I handle stress and like uncomfortable situations by like laughing, and I just laugh it off and move forward. With my ADHD, I just keep on moving forward, and I try to avoid. That's just what I do, and I just try to find humor and try to work hard throughout anything, and just not make a deal about whatever, and just if something is hurtful, I'll just journal about it, like I've been doing.
So you, at any point, did you approach Dave to ask about this rumor, or approach HR and say, I've heard that I've been terminated, I need some clarity around this? Was there any follow-up sort of officially around this rumor?
So one of Dave's things as a supervisor, there's a lot of like talking, and Dave is just known to like talk with everyone. He's really good at it. And often the three wise men, just like how I described in detail about how James would bully and talk bad about Bob, well, Bill and Dave would often talk about other people as well to me. And like Bill talked about Katie, how she's one of the senior people there, and how Katie will never move up and never be anything and will always be stuck there. He would like bragged about that, which is pretty disgusting. Dave would talk about Amy, who's another senior person just under Katie, and talk about how all Amy does is complain, and how Armindo doesn't need this and doesn't need that. So often I would just talk to Dave, and we would have conversations, and I would just talk to my coworkers, and because you're on the line together, and I would openly talk about everything, just like how I would ask everyone, like, why is James calling me Glenn? So yeah, I always talk about these things, but it was also Dave made a point where like Amy always complains every day, or there's always something, or actually Ian too. There was a problem with with Amy, and Ian would be like, oh yeah, don't worry, like Amy's known for complaining. So yeah, there would just be like
one of those points where I'm going to jump in, Renee, here. Just bear with me for a second here. I apologize for jumping in, but before there's a lot of players in this situation, and I appreciate that it's very complex and there's lots of different dynamics and players, but I just need to circle back to the question of you hear from people that you've been fired, you've been terminated. Did you approach anyone in management or human resources to clarify this rumor, to say, why is it that I'm hearing this rumor? I've been told that Dave is telling people I've been fired. Did you approach anyone in an official capacity to ask about that rumor?
Yeah, just Dave, my supervisor. And he just kind of laughed it off, and he didn't really talk about it.
So you just talked to Dave, but not with HR or anything?
I didn't know how to talk to HR.
Okay. All right. So thank you for letting me circle back to that. Okay. So you've been hearing June 19th. You're hearing these rumors that you've been fired, but Dave laughs it off. And then sort of where do things go from there? What's the next incident you want us to be aware of?
Shannon, when there's gatekeeping as bad as it is at Purelator, and after your first week you've already been threatened that you're going to be fired, you're getting told that other people are complainers and this and that, and you have as much experience as I do, and you often try to just work hard, and Dave told me, like, just keep your nose down and just work hard. And like when you do that, you often don't want to like just make yourself an outcast, you know. I try to do everything possible to just be the best worker possible, right? So it seems that you're making me really uncomfortable, and this isn't the first time in this conversation where you're asking these questions, which it seems that are just really oddly conveniently in Purelator's favor, where you're trying to like discredit me or like put blame on me, and it's really unsettling.
Okay, sorry, I hear that that's your experience. What I'm trying to do is just get down to the facts and gather information about whether or not you spoke with anyone in management regarding that, to see if they had a response to you, because that would certainly be disconcerting as an employee to hear that you'd been fired. So I was curious about what their response was to you, if you had approached them about that.
Yeah, and Dave, my manager,
our goal here is to gather information.
He just kind of just laughs it off and sloughs it off, right? Because I was gone because of HR meetings and this and that. And that's just what Dave does. If you worked in the warehouse, he just chats with everyone, and Dave is just Dave, right?
Okay. Right. Okay. So, is there another incident that you want to report and claim for, Renee?
Sure. So if I don't bring these up verbally, and then submit all my evidence on like dates and times, they won't count as a claim?
Well, you can, certainly we'll have you submit the other documentation, and we'll make sure we know all of those that you submit in your documentation. I will review that very thoroughly. We often don't have time to go through all of the events over the phone. Sometimes there's, an extensive list of incidents, and we don't necessarily need to discuss each one. Sometimes a lot of them are very similar in nature when we talk to people, and there are a number of other questions that it's important for us to discuss over the phone. Those things are easier for us to discuss over the phone rather than by email or written correspondence, whereas events, often people can summarize those for us much easier in written correspondence. So I do want to make sure we have time to get to the other questions.
Okay, so it slowly happened where James started convincing other people, and he told me to fuck off and die. And I brought that up to Dave, and I have an audio recording of Dave saying that James told me he did that. And James also told Dave that I wasn't trainable, and he slowly just got people to start getting in on bullying me. And it turns out that he's one of the people that's in charge of the drug operation in there, about why Dean would be in the trailer always, because Dean would get a package of drugs, and James was always up top in the designated spot. And when the suit driver would show up, he had a false floor in his truck, and Dean would be over there often with a temp girl, female, and 2 temps would be over in that corner when that suit driver was the very first driver to show up in the morning, every morning, and he would lift up his bottom floor and they would put that package under his floor. So another reason why someone might think hey, well, why would this be happening to you, or why would there be so much turnover? Well, because there's a literal drug ring happening in that warehouse. So if you don't know what's going on, and they use Bob with Asperger's to like start friction, start this and that to legally push people out. And you know, there was, like I said, there was like some old guy that was a full-time worker assaulted a 17-year-old girl that worked there, which turns out she was from Ontario, and she found out that I wanted to be a police officer, and ended up telling Bill, which then sped up the fast track on people mistreating me and bullying me. And then all of a sudden, one of Katie's references is that Pure Layer employees are under attack. That's what she told me, because people started showing up late for work, or Katie had to buy a new car because all in like a couple weeks, all their cars got vandalized, and what's that guy's name? Amy and Clayton got in a serious car accident, and they started using a bioweapon on me, especially in the trailer. I had to use a fan, and they started spraying noxious chemicals while I was unloading the trailer.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there, Renee, because you've told me a whole bunch of information in a small period of time, and so each of these things I'm going to have to kind of separate and ask a few more questions about. So I'm just going to back us up a little bit here, and we'll go through these things.
Sorry about that.
So first of all, I want to... No problem. I just need to make sure that we gather enough information about each of these that I can make sure I properly address them. So the first thing you said was that James told you to fuck off and die. When was that? Do you recall the approximate date, if not the exact date? And then if you can provide me some more context for that. What was happening at the time, who was around, that sort of thing.
I asked to use the washroom, and because at the time I was being poisoned, so my bladder wasn't the greatest, and I guess you don't need to ask, but you can just go. And he told me to fuck off and die, which was very unsettling.
So you were sorting packages as per your normal job, and you asked James if you could use the washroom, even though you don't normally need to ask permission?
No, ma'am. I was actually in the trailer unloading, because he's always up top where the trailer is, at that number 1 spot of the line where the trailer is, and I was in the trailer unloading packages. And the reason why you can just go, and because he has cages, so he can just put a package down, and if you can just run off and go to the washroom. But I just told him hey, I'm gonna go use the washroom. He told me to fuck off and die. And I have an audio recording on when talking to my supervisor Dave on break. We had a chat, and Dave in the audio recording admits to James approaching him and telling him that he did that, and Dave telling me in the audio recording specifically that I'm hey, I'm fucked, James won't stop bullying me and doing this to me. And he's no, you're not, you didn't do anything wrong, you did nothing wrong.
Was there anyone who actually witnessed James saying that? I understand that there's this audio recording of James admitting it. Did anyone actually witness that statement being made?
It was just James and I up top. But again, I have Dave telling me that James already told him that he did that, which is pretty great for me.
So James admitting to Dave that James said that?
James went to Dave and said that he did that, and Dave telling me that he did that, and Dave also telling me I did nothing wrong. Because James is known for acting like this. And James talking about how there's like training for like bullying and harassment, and that he can't be doing that, and he knows better.
And do you have the date for that, Renee?
It might be in one of the YouTube videos and the clips, because Purelayer made me delete all of my evidence. So my journaling is only to a certain point, and then I started using Twitter. But Nathan, the head of Purelayer for BC, made me delete every post, and I had like a screenshot and like a little bit of like a clip on all of my evidence, so it might be in there if you can review it, or I can review it later. But it's in one of the 4 YouTube clips.
And not necessarily. Do you have an approximate date? Was it sort of like July, summertime? Do you have a sense?
No, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm really stressed right now.
Okay.
Everything's just.
Okay.
The more I
Okay. Do you need to grab a glass of water? Freshen up your coffee? Anything? Take a bit of a breath there.
Let's just keep pushing forward. Sorry. Thank you. That's nice of you.
Okay. All right. So the next bit that I want to gather a little bit more information about to make sure that I'm understanding. James told Dave that you weren't trainable. Can you tell me how you became aware that this interaction had happened?
Oh, yeah. So I was on Dave talking about him every week about, hey, like, am I going to go out with Daryl, like the driver trainer? And the reason why I know his name's Daryl is because Dave's the one that told me. I'm like, hey, like Armando said I'm going to get out, like get trained and stuff for class 1. And Dave knew, Dave told me. And then quickly Bill and James found out that I was going to be trained, and Dave then told me that James said that I'm untrainable, and the 3 wise men slowly try to convince Armando not to train me as a class 1 driver. And Teamsters, like James, like the Teamsters union, Teamsters was the same union that I got wrongfully terminated, and Coca-Cola Victoria, like 6 months before I started working there, had to pay me $10,000 because this same bullying, Hells Angels, mobbing thing happened to me, and it happened there. So yeah.
So
and I was a class 1 driver at Coca-Cola Victoria, and with no incidents. I was driver number 7, and there was only 2 drivers. I was one of those drivers that never had an accident for the whole year. All the other 5 drivers had damage in equipment and all the other issues. That's how much experience I have.
So James told Dave that you weren't trainable, and then Dave shared this information with you. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
48 minutes.
Pardon me?
Just looking at our time.
Okay. Do you have somewhere you
No. Just a random
wrap the call up?
No. Just sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Now, again, same question. Don't want to make any assumptions.
No, you're good.
On my part. So, can you talk to me about what was most impactful about hearing someone say that you're not trainable?
Just do what I do best, Shannon. I just laugh it off. I mean, like, just thinking of like that guy doesn't know me. He's just slandering me, and he's just part of organized crime, and that's what these people do. And he's the one that has 2 drinking and driving charges that he got out of because he knows people. And when you're someone like me that doesn't self-harm at all and is straight edge, and you get attacked by people like that, I'm used to it. James is a predator.
Okay.
Bill would trash talk Katie almost every day, like a really nice girl before she had to get a new car. She was really sweet to me and would notice like the bullying and like give me fist bumps and stuff like that. And those people trash talked me so much that she eventually started ignoring me, and then she had to buy a new car because her car was vandalized. And Bill would trash talk Katie so much that like the worst things possible you can say about a human being he would say about her. And pretty much the only reason why she was still there is because James liked her, and there was a thing going on with James and her. And that temp worker girl, like, it was talking to me and like how they would play footsies in the break room and stuff like that. So that's what James does.
So I'm just gonna jump in here again, Renee, just because our time is somewhat limited. I just want to be clear for you in terms of our law and policy. I can only take a look at events that have happened directly to you. So as much as it can be, you know, disturbing sometimes to see other people having challenging experiences in the workplace, I really can only look at those experiences that you have experienced directly. So just
I did experience that directly, Shannon. And it seems that you cut me off right there about talking about something very serious that happened in the warehouse, and this is very relatable to my case because this is experiences that are happening to my coworkers that are brought up to me that other people talk to me about, which then just which it just shows that this isn't just happening to me, it's happening to other people as well, right? And right.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate that it's impactful to see those things happen to other people, but our law and policy only allows me to adjudicate those events that happened to you that you experienced.
Sorry about that.
Just want to give you that frame of reference. Okay. Any other instance that you want to claim a report for? What we may do is perhaps, again, because we have the option, you've done some great journaling, it sounds like, of you sending those other incidents in. Perhaps we'll spend about 10 more minutes talking about the events themselves. If we don't get through all of them, you can send that documentation in. And then I've got some other things that I want to chat through with you, some other questions and pieces of information. So is there another incident that you want to chat about on the phone here right now?
Understood. Yeah, Bill called me a dumb fuck on July 31st, 2023.
And what was happening at the time? Where were you? What was going on at the time?
So after working there for a couple months, Bill has probably the hardest physical job. He's down the line on the second position next to James, and he deals with like all the heavy packages, and he has to. That's probably why he's so lean at his age, and he manhandles, and just he's always moving. He doesn't stop 24/7. So I instead of when I'm bullied, I just put my head down like Dave told me, and I just started working harder, and I tried to just assist Bill as much as possible. And when Bill was on holidays, I would try to like take his role and just stay busy 24/7 and work my butt off the whole day. And not only that is that beneficial, because then you also memorize all of the addresses and the numbers, and you really make yourself really valuable in that spot. And I was learning a ton and really like working hard, where other people started, like people that were like there longer than me were kind of jealous and like wanted to like try to take that role, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, Bill, yeah, on that date, Bill called me a dumb fuck, and where is that note? Ugh, there's so many notes. Yeah, I'm sitting in the break room, watery eyes, and Bill, the most senior guy, is saying mean shit to me under his breath, dumb fuck, etc., etc. I asked Dave to switch sides, but after 5 minutes, I need to sit for a second and journal this. I needed a break from him just trash talking so many other people, and then now trash talking me, which I'm just trying to be friends with them because that's what I do. Like, I just try to work hard and laugh things off, and I just don't want anyone to not be mean to me, so I just try to like joke around and get them to like me. So then Bill just walked in as I'm texting, as I'm like on the phone, like journaling to make sure I don't forget any points, and my heart is racing. I can't even look at this guy. He came in by himself, like acting nice, but I can't take these mind games and these people think up over the weekend to sabotage my future. It's gross.
And when so you're not sure what sort of led to this? It just sort of came out of nowhere? Or was there some kind of a conflict that happened earlier? Was he upset about something in particular?
This is normal behavior for Bill, and I guess Bill has a record with AHR, and I guess he's on like a fine line with people complaining that when Bill starts just acting that way, people just start like just walking the other way and just giving him space.
Yeah. Okay. And did you respond to him at all after he said this? I
just told Dave, and I just took a 5-minute breather, and just journaled it, and he immediately came in to try to be nice and stuff, and in my notes here it says I couldn't even look at the guy, and then I just like went back out, and I'm like, you just treat me like this, you shouldn't be alone in a room with me. I'm just writing it down.
Okay.
He was worried because he's already had so many complaints by other people, specifically I think Amy, and yeah, he just didn't want any other problems, right?
Okay. All right. So what we can do, again, we'll talk at the end about how you can submit those other incidents, the documentation for those, so we make sure we have all of those on your claim for you. But I do want to move to some other questions that are easier to address verbally here.
Am I able to email this journal to you?
Yeah, we'll talk about getting that to us at the end here.
All right,
yeah.
Cool.
So now I want to spend some time. Another really important part of the information that we want and need to gather from you is the impact of these events on you. So I want to spend a bit of time talking about that. So if you can talk to me a bit, Renee, about symptoms that you're experiencing as a result of these events. So how this has impacted you. These might be emotional symptoms, physical, psychological. If you can talk to me about the impact of these on you.
Mobbing in the workplace, depression, loss of time, adjustment disorder with my ADHD, psychotherapy, things I was practicing. I mean, being ostracized, discriminated. Mobbing is plural for bullying. So when one person is bullying you and they give in to another person, that's mobbing. So when that slowly happens, and when you're intimidated, when other people are intimidated, it's pretty scary, especially when organized crime like the Hells Angels is involved. And once you understand why there's people there that are under the radar dealing drugs in mass quantities, it becomes pretty scary. So, and when you're in a position like me, that's being stalked and hunted by the Hells Angels, and you need money, and you've been living in your car for 8 years, and you've been homeless, and you're just trying to get out of debt and try to try to have a normal life. It's It's pretty stressful.
And as a result of that stress, have you noticed any changes to your sleep, any changes to your appetite?
It's hard to put like a finger on it. I'm like a really strong person, so nothing affected my work ethic. If not, I just work harder because I've been abused since grade 6, and it's pretty sad, but I'm just used to being abused, and with my great personality and sense of humor, I just try to just work harder. And what my mindset is, you know, what doesn't hurt you just makes you stronger, and I just try to just keep on. As long as I'm getting a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks, that I like it. That's what I'm there for, right? I'm there to work, get a paycheck, and just have a life, right? But people are stopping me from doing that.
Okay. So no changes to sleep or appetite necessarily?
Yeah, like, of course there was changes. But when you're trained as like...
Can you talk to me about what those changes were?
It's really hard for me to talk about this as an old school man that's trained in a certain way. It's really hard to like talk about these things, so maybe it's just really emotional for me. Like, maybe it's better that you can email me that question and I can respond to you back via like email over text.
Okay.
It's just really embarrassing.
One question that is important for me to ask you, it's really important for me when people are going through stressful experiences to make sure that you are safe. Any thoughts of self-harm or suicide?
Of course not.
Right. And do you have a family doctor?
Nope. There's a doctor shortage.
And have you...
I'm on the wait list for like 2.5 years now. It's a struggle.
Have you seen a doctor in response to any of these incidents? Have you sought any medical attention or any counseling?
Yeah, I have. I've got doctor's notes and stuff for employers trying to issue unsafe work practices, and yeah, it's just the doctors just tell you to change your environment.
And which doctors have you seen? Do you have their names and phone numbers?
Yeah, there's a doctor at the Victoria General Hospital, a woman doctor. It was quite some time. I can probably even get the exact doctor's note.
Okay, that would be helpful if you could. Yeah, maybe we'll get that information by email as well.
Also,
do you go to a regular walk-in clinic or anything like that?
Yeah, I go to a walk-in clinic, but like another struggle with that is you're only allowed to bring up one issue at a time. So it's yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah. Which walk-in clinic do you use, Renee?
Esquimalt Medical Clinic. And they really recently, every time I talk to them, they remind me that they lost 2 doctors. I'm like, okay. So they're stressed.
And are you taking any medication right now?
Nope, never.
Any counselors, or have you seen any counselors in the last couple of years?
Nope, never.
Right. And we really like to have just a sense of people's sort of baseline, what they're coming to us with. It doesn't impact how we move forward with your claim. Any treatment in the past for mental health issues or any pre-existing mental health issues? You did mention ADHD. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, ma'am. Other than that, I'm pretty awesome.
Okay. All right. And in terms of informal supports, I hear you saying you don't have a counselor, that sort of thing, but informal supports, who do you kind of turn for in your life to get to talk about challenges or get some support informally?
The internet. You guys are going to send me to see someone to talk to, right? If you guys accept my claim?
Yeah, if your claim is allowed, then healthcare would potentially be part of that, and so we would look at connecting you with that kind of treatment. Yeah.
Do you think I should like talk to a different WorkSafe department as well for like the other experiences I've had at Terminated, or like how does that work?
So, and that's a great question. So my role is limited to determining if we can offer you compensation. So I don't have any role in addressing sort of workplace policies or that kind of thing. If you are concerned about sort of safety issues in the workplace, and that can be physical safety or mental health, bullying, harassment type of issues, you can contact our preventions department, and they can talk to you about sort of their role and their abilities in addressing those kinds of issues.
I thought I originally talked to those people though, and they said that it doesn't fall into their scope, and I never really talked to them much about what was going on. Remember, I talked to 2 other people, and they're like, and they just passed me along, and then it seems that with what you deal with, it doesn't seem that you can help me as much as I thought with all the problems I've had. So that's why, like, last time I talked to you, I was kind of concerned. I was like, this seems odd.
And we don't, I don't have the ability to see the prevention files, so I wouldn't be able to see if you spoke with them or who you might have spoken with in that department. If you did, I don't have the ability to see their files, but I can certainly, at the end here, give you their number, and you can reach out again and chat with them if you like. I'd be happy to give you that number.
Okay, cool.
Okay. All right, so just a bit more information that I need to gather from you. So you are no longer with Purelator, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what was the last day that you worked? The date? Recall? Sorry, did you say no?
No, that was me humming. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
August maybe? I'm not 100% sure, honestly, Shannon. Like I said, Purelator on the 11th HR meeting had me delete all of my evidence, and then on the 12th HR meeting, like a day or 2 after that, they terminated me.
So just a few things that we will need going forward. There's a release of information form that allows us to talk to doctors as we move forward with your claim if necessary. So that's something that we will look at getting to you. And then, of course, there's sounds like documentation that you'll be able to send to us that will be important for us to have in your claim file and also helpful. The steps that we take now is I will be contacting Purelator. That's a normal part of our process is we do contact the employer, let them know what you're claiming for, offer them an opportunity to add any information that they want to add, and then we will be determining if the incidents meet our law and policy, and if it looks like it may, then we would look at potentially moving to that next step of referring you for a psychological assessment to determine if you've experienced a mental health injury. So these are all things that do take some time, though. Like we discussed last time, it can be a fairly lengthy process if we move forward in those next steps. So sometimes potentially 6-7 months before we have a decision on the claim. That's not unusual. But we'll need to take a look and see if this meets our law and policy to move forward to those next steps. But we will need to get that additional information from you. So perhaps I will invite my colleague back into the call, and we can either discuss how to get that information
Email?
from you, that written documentation, or one of us can get back to you in the next little while and clarify that. So if my colleague's available, I'll invite him back into the call here.
Paul?
I'm here, absolutely.
What's up, Paul?
Yep, I'm here. Very well, thank you. So what we'll do is I will email you from our dedicated mailbox, and then you can have a return address, and then you can send anything you want in, and I'll forward it on to my colleague.
Like a return email?
Yep.
Oh, okay, cool.
You just reply to the email that I'll send you. I'll send you a test email, then you can attach anything you want to it, and then I can send it on.
Sweet.
Excellent.
Okay. Any questions for me, Renee, about what we reviewed today or the process?
I mean, no, thank you for your patience and your hard work.
All right. Thank you for your time, and we will be back in touch. Thank you.
Do you guys have my email?
Oh, let me just check. I've got the correct one here. Bear with me while I put my glasses on. First name dot last name 86 at gmail.com. Is that correct?
You do have my email. Nailed it.
Okay, perfect. Great. All right. Thank you, Renee.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.